Welcome back, writers. I've been having so much fun thinking about how to adapt Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I hope you've been having fun with this writing as well. Last week, when we came together, when thinking about how to write a fairy tale adaptation, we learned that writers decide on a change to improve the story and then make that change lead to other changes. So I've been thinking about Goldilocks, and you've been thinking about either Little Red Riding Hood or the Three Little Pigs. And we thought about a type of change we could do to the story. We also thought about why authors make changes, whether it's to teach a lesson about a social issue, or maybe simply to make the story funnier, more entertaining, or more relatable for the audience. So right now, let's remind ourselves of the changes we have planned, and then the other changes that happen, that domino effect of changes throughout the story. So I'll show you what that looks like for me. Instead of Goldilocks being hungry wanting some porridge, it is Goldilocks goes to a new school and is lonely looking for someone to play with. Because of that, the setting is on the playground. Because of that, instead of trying different bowls of porridge, Goldilocks is trying out different balls, different jump ropes, and different monkey bars. Because of that, she's looking for someone to play all these things with her. And in the end, she finds somebody to jump rope with. So I want you to do what I just did. Remind yourself of the change you made to the story and how that change is going to lead to other changes. I'll leave this here, so pause the video and remind yourself of your changes. Go, pause. Okay. Now that we've reminded ourselves of our changes we're making and how that change leads to other changes, today I'm going to teach you that when writers are rehearsing a story, getting ready for drafting for a fairy tale adaptation, they make a character with traits and wants who runs into trouble. They tell the story in 2 or 3 scenes and figure out an ending that solves the character's big problem. So I want you to watch me as I try that out. And one of the ways you might do some rehearsal is actually by making a little 4-page booklet to help you write your story in the air, touching each page. That's one option, and that's the option I'm going to show. Another thing that I find helpful is having some sentence starters to help me think about how my story is going to go. Okay. So a character with traits and wants who runs into trouble. I've got Goldilocks. When I think of her traits, I'm going to make Goldilocks this time really good at jumping rope, and you'll see why in the end. And I'm also going to have her be lonely, looking for a friend. And so that's a trait, and it's also sort of her trouble. She's moved to a new place, and she's looking for a new friend. Okay? So now that I've thought about my character, her traits, and her wants, I'm going to try to tell this story across a few scenes, touching each page of my storytelling booklet as I go. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Goldilocks. She loved to jump rope. She jumped rope every day. One day, her family moved to a new place. On her first day of school, when Goldilocks went to recess, she had no one to play with. She looked across the playground and saw some balls. The first ball she tried was too big. The second ball she tried was too small. The third ball she tried was just right, except she had no one to play with. She put the ball down and looked for something else to do. A Across the playground, Goldilocks saw some monkey bars. The first ones she tried were too tall. The second monkey bars she tried were too short. The third ones she tried were just right. Except they weren't really just right because she had no one to play with. Goldilocks jumped down and looked around the playground again for something to do. Suddenly, Goldilocks saw a bag of jump ropes, her favorite. The first jump rope she tried was too long. The second one she tried was too short. The third one she tried was just right. She started jumping and counting. 1, 2, 3, 59, 60, 61. Hey, you're really good at jumping rope, someone said. Goldilocks turned around. Hi, I'm Ellie, the little kid said, and you're really good at jumping rope. Can I join you? Goldilocks smiled. The two of them jumped rope for the rest of recess, and they jumped happily ever after. The end. Okay, did you see what I just did? I made a character with traits and wants who runs into trouble. I told the story in 2 or 3 scenes. I told it out loud, pointing to each page in my booklet as I wrote the story in the air. And I figured out an ending that solves the character's big problem. Okay? So writers, today, as you go off, continuing to rehearse, that might look like making a 4-page booklet and touching each page as you storytell out loud. That might also look like sketching a picture of each scene and then telling the story out loud. That might also look like getting up and acting out the story. Maybe you've got some stuffed animals you could use or Legos, and you can act out the story, telling what's happening, storytelling in the air as you rehearse. And once you've rehearsed your story 2 or 3 times, and you've got that story in your bones, you are ready to draft. I've rehearsed my story a few times and I've drafted it, so I'll share an example of what a draft might look like right now. Writers, off you go.